anyone want to role play a rape with you in a public place?
Yes, there was one, a bit plain, and it was not her fantasy, it was mine.
Okay.
Yeah. Role play took place in the dressing room of Bergdorf's. While she was trying on lingerie, I would burst in.
Hold on. Say you were in Bergdorf Goodman.
I was coming out of Bergdorf's. I was coming out, and he was coming in. He was standing out, and he put his hand like this. He said, "Come advise me. I want to buy a present." Shortly after that, he said, "I know, lingerie." A dressing room door was open, which is very unusual because usually they're locked. And the attendant comes and locks it, escorts you in, etc. Okay, so let's go in the dressing room. And the minute I was in there, he shut the door and pushed me up against the wall and bang my head. It did not last long. And that's why I don't use the word you just used. I use the word fight.
You don't use the word.
I was not thrown on the ground and ravished, which the word carries so many sexual connotations. This was not sexual. It hurt.
Well, I think most people think of rape as it is a violent assault. It is not.
I think most people think of rape as being sexy.
Let's take a short break.
Think of the fantasies.
We're just going to take a quick break. If you can stick around, we'll talk more on the other side.
You're fascinating to talk to.
Another thing that he and his lawyers have often spoken about is the lack of disclosure about a big Democratic donor funding part of this case. Was there a reason it wasn't disclosed, and did you view this as political in any way?
No, I just completely forgot.
You actually helped get the ball rolling on this case. Can you just walk me through how that happened?
Yeah, I mean, what happened is that I met Jean Carroll by chance, and she came up to me. I said hello. And immediately, it popped into my head, well, you've got a pretty good defamation claim here. The statute of limitations on the rape has run. But there's no question that if the rape happened, and it seems like you have corroborating evidence, it did, well, he's libeled you because he's called you a liar. And then I said, I think I know the right lawyer for you. And the next day, I contacted my good friend Robbie Kaplan, and that's how it all got started.
So, Chris, we just finished with the selection of a jury of 9 people. One of the things that struck me about the jurors who were just selected is how non-specific they were about their media consumption. Judge Luke Kaplan, who's presiding over this trial, has a battery of routine questions that he asks to prospective jurors. And the last one is, where do you get your news from? And what I saw today suggests to me that all of the people who are assembled in the courtroom, irrespective of what political biases they may have brought in the door, they all wanted to be here because when they were asked, where do you get your news from? Most of them said things like, I'm news agnostic, or I get it from the internet. I see it on my phone apps, places like Apple News. Very few of the prospective jurors answered those questions with specific outlets like the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal. That suggested to me you got a number of people back there that are highly motivated to serve in this trial for whatever reasons, but they didn't want to leave, which is not what you usually see. You usually see lots of people who don't want to be in jury service. They'll come up with any excuse possible. That's not what I saw here today.
Before I walked into court, that judge decided that every single defense President Trump had, we were not allowed to raise in front of the jury. It is in writing, and I encourage the journalists, the real journalists, to take the minute to look at his orders. There was no DNA. My experts were denied. Two of them were denied to come in. They didn't let me bring up that Reid Hoffman funded Miss Kaplan. And you know what we got in there? That my witness, who was her friend, who said that she is a drug addict and the drug addict is herself. That friend, I found out, allowed in there was paid for by Ms. Kaplan's firm, and that is disgusting. That is a violation of everything I stand for, and that is why I stand with Trump. We are seeing a violation of our justice system. Ladies and gentlemen, you are not allowed to be stripped of every defense that you have. And imagine a point where a judge tells the lawyer, before your client, the former president of the United States, the leading candidate and obvious nominee for the Republican Party, before he takes the stand to defend himself, Ms. Haba, tell me the questions you're going to ask in open court and tell me exactly what he's going to respond. And then edited my questions, edited the response he was allowed to give. And guess what my client did? He took the stand. He abided by the rules of this corrupt system that I have seen. We will immediately appeal. We will set aside that ridiculous jury. And I just want to remind you all of one thing. I will continue with President Trump to fight for everybody's First Amendment right to speak. Everybody's a right to defend themselves when they are wrongfully accused and to be able to say, I didn't do it. And the behavior I saw in there gave us the most perfect record on appeal. And even if I needed it, which I don't, we were stripped of every defense, every single defense before we walked in there. And I am proud to stand with President Trump because he showed up, he stood up, he took the stand, and he faced this judge. The former president does not live his life in fear, as you've seen every single day. The former president and probably future president will continue to fight for Americans. Thank you very much, everybody.